Hi, Dr. Snyder. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I'm interviewing you today because we have a human interest project, and I just would love to get to know more about you and what you do. I want to learn about your journey in building the Genius team, of course, and then your work as a speaker and coach. I also want to know what it really looks like to create a meaningful career. And I feel like you've done that beautifully. So before we begin, I would love to ask for your permission to record, of course, and then to film this interview. And if I could use you in my class.
I would be happy to. Thank you. Yes, you have permission.
Perfect. All right, to start, can you tell me a brief overview of who you are and what you do?
Well, those are two different questions.
Oh, yeah, very true.
Which one do you want first?
Who you are, and then we'll get to the next one.
I don't know how you want me to answer that, but who I am, I'd say first an entrepreneur who combines speaking, emceeing, and coaching as my work. But I'd say who I am is somebody who's really curious about people. And I really love combining people and process. And I think we'll get into this, but the reason that we call our company the Genius Team is because I am looking for the genius in people. And I think that regardless of what kind of leader you are, what kind of business you're running, or what kind of nonprofit you may be running, the genius in people is what really attracts my interest and my curiosity, because I think everybody's very different no matter what kind of position they're in. I also think the definition that I like to use for genius is a rare and remarkable level of talent. So genius is not that they are a genius, it is that they have their genius. And I think that's what a lot of people may or may not have fully developed yet. So who I am is somebody who's really creative and curious about that aspect of people. And I think what that does is combine all the things that I've done throughout my speaking career. So what I do is I layer all of those things together. So I am a keynote speaker. I am an MC. I think I thrive on the spontaneous. I like to plan a lot so that I can be spontaneous, professionally and personally. I'm an executive coach, and I love to lead retreats. All the things where people get to come to intersections where they are either an intersection of decision or they're at an intersection of where they are ready to develop maybe another aspect of their genius they haven't thought of.
Yeah. Wow. I never knew that. That's amazing. And I love that your name is also in it too, which just shows that
Well, I'll give you a little background on that. So my corporate name is Snyder Remarks. Get it? Snyder Remarks. But when I married, I'd had that incorporated name for a long, long, long time. And when I married, my married name is Chamberlain. I still go professionally by Snyder because of the incorporation and because of people have known me that for a long time. And Chamberlain Remarks didn't quite have the same ring to it. And so when we were rebranding, my team and I, they said, what do you think you want to call it? And what people say is, they don't necessarily say, they do know they're hiring Snyder Remarks. But they would say, just call Genie. Let's just call Genie and find out what's going on. So the Genius now works with either last name or the combined version. So that's where Genius came from. And thus the integration of really working with people to position their genius at strategic intersections of decision. And that may be in life, professionally. Typically, I can't see how those separate. I think you got to do both together. And but my favorite thing is to watch somebody at that intersection where it seems like a roadblock, and actually we start to gain some traction, and then they get momentum in a different direction. That brings in all their genius, doesn't stop doing one thing and start doing another. It's all part of the genius that they are.
Yeah, and I've seen that firsthand with myself whenever I call you on the phone, and I find the genius in even my own work through just talking.
We actually had one of those conversations just before this intersection.
Yes,
this interview. Interview, same thing,
right? Anyway, yes, of course. So I love that. I did want to ask you, did you always see yourself doing this work? Because I can't imagine all that you built up, that you knew this right from the start, you know?
I don't know if I knew it from the start, but I will say it's funny. Last week I was doing something where I was mimicking a game show as part of my emceeing. And when I heard my voice come out, I remembered as a child I would do commercials.
Really?
And I would pick up things that were in the kitchen or the shampoo bottle, and I would hold it up and I would read the ingredients as if I were selling that shampoo on television, because then television was it when I was a little girl, right?
Exactly.
And so I saw myself, I'd say, as an actress, as doing commercials, as I always, even in youth group and everything, I would be the MC of certain things, but I don't know that I called it that. I don't know that I called it speaking, though I've done speaking since I was little.
Yeah.
I don't know that I knew as a child you could be a speaker for a living. I don't know that I knew as a child you could be an MC for a living. Those were all things you did because you were involved in other things.
Yeah.
Every part of every job or part of my career that I've had has always had a speaking element. Wow. Has always had an events element, and has always had this combination of working the crowd in it. So I don't know that those were what I thought I'd put on my resume in college. I'm good at working the crowd, but I'm good at working the crowd. And part of that is identifying genius. So I pull out things in people, even when they're in the audience, that maybe they didn't expect out of themselves, to try to make people feel comfortable. And I'm also helping my clients connect with their audience. So that is, I think I've always been in the business of connecting audiences. I think I've always been in the business of connecting. I think I've always been in the business of customer service and serving others. I just don't know that I knew what to call it.
You can't.
And now we have this weird, you know, speaker, MC, coach, facilitator person, and so I'm just grateful that you can make a living out of this. But,
oh my gosh,
but it is kind of the combination and culmination of all the things I've done.
Yeah.
And continue to do. I think the reinventing yourself is the big piece.
Yeah.
You don't just do something for 30, 40, 50 years. You
just to do it.
But I think what drives me is connecting with people and their genius.
Yeah.
I might not have called it that till the branding a few years ago.
Of course, yeah.
But the connecting, I think I've always done. Even at our wedding, I remember looking around the crowd and saying, oh my, I think it's the first time all my weird groups of people have been in one room. So, whatever we want to call that, I think I've known I was going to do this. I just didn't know what this was.
That is so good. Wow. I did have a question for you. What is emceeing exactly? Because I don't think I've heard of this term until you, honestly. I know like the other, like public speaking, but tell me exactly like what emceeing is for other people to know.
Well, I don't think I can, because I don't think there's an exact definition of emceeing. Emceeing stands for Master of Ceremonies or Mistress of Ceremonies.
Okay.
That's where it comes from. The colloquial term is turned into an EMCEE, but it's really M.C. Master of Ceremonies or Mistress of Ceremonies.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. But emceeing has now become its own term.
Yeah.
And it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So the old version is you read intros introducing people to conference.
Yeah.
My definition would be the same definition of what I do, and that is connecting with the genius of others.
Okay.
It is more, just like the speaking, it is more about the audience than it is me or whoever's on stage.
Yeah.
It is more about connecting, perhaps if I am emceeing a conference, for instance, my job is to keep the flow going. My job is to keep the audience engaged. And my job is also to make the speakers or whoever's presenting, whether it's the CEO or other C-suite people or hired speakers, make them have even more connection with the audience than they might have guessed before they come in. So my job is to lift them up and make sure that this audience knows what a real luxury it is to get to hear this person live or virtual, whichever. Yeah. Sometimes I'm emceeing virtually, or to connect, to find out whatever it is, the purpose of the event, whether it is a gala, a fundraiser, a business conference, a retreat, or a forum, a summit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
My job is to connect the dots to make sure that whoever just spoke is connected somehow strangely in this weird intersection to the next person, even if their topics are not the same.
Wow.
And connect them, but the most important piece is to connect with the audience and have the audience connecting with each other. The business goal is to make sure that whoever came to whatever the event is, fundraiser all the way to business conference, make sure they come back next year.
Yeah.
Or the next time. Whatever it is my client needs, I want to make sure that I am being that face of that outcome.
Yeah.
Without saying, hey, we really want you to come back next year, though I would say that. But we want them to not even question it at the end of whatever the event is or the conference. I don't want that person leaving that seat, which hopefully they're still in by the end of it. That's part of my job. I don't want them leaving that seat without signing up for whatever the next early bird special is. Because that's what my client needs. And then that's how you grow. But the other part is I hope that audience person, I trust that audience person is walking away with something different than when they came in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not an experience. It's just warming a seat.
Yeah.
I want it to be an experience.
Yeah.
And that is different for each person.
That's really good. That makes me think of whenever you did TEDx this past year. That was emceeing, wasn't it? Like
I emceed and I was executive producer and a coach for the speakers and supported all the speakers and the people who were supporting the speakers. So
you did a lot. Yeah, you had your hands everywhere.
The connection of that and making it flow, because you have, in our case, 9 different people with 9 different topics that don't go together, except they did come together because we carefully curated them under the in this case the theme was spark. So they all had a piece of spark in them, but it was important that event is not only the experience for the TEDx speakers, but for that audience as well, and the international audience that now our talks are going out to. So
no way. Wow.
They're very out there.
Wow. I think of emceeing as like, of course you're telling people come back next year, but like your job is to make them feel in their heart to like want to come back next year.
And to make a conscious decision to come back, not just to say, oh, that was fun. To actually make a conscious decision. This moved my life forward in some way, my work forward in some way, or I want to make sure I don't miss coming back to see these same people, or to experience. But the main thing is to experience whatever they experienced. They help define it. They help define what's next year, or next month, or next whatever. Depends on what's going on, what the event is.
Exactly. Yeah. But I did want to ask you, since you are a Georgia College alumni and also got your master's, I would love to know what exactly you got it in, like just what did you get?
My degrees are in?
Yeah, of course.
So my undergraduate at Georgia College was in political science and public administration. So I focused on management, leadership, and I have a minor in French because I started out as an English and business major, and then I actually transferred into Georgia College as a sophomore. And at that time, though Georgia College would let me now, at that time they wouldn't let me major in both English and business. And that was the intersection I really wanted. So I had to find something that combined those. So I still did a lot of writing. However, I changed to the public administration and political science position because it had a lot of the same business and leadership courses or focus, only from the public sector, that the business school had. And then I'd already taken so much French for my English major that I just continued and got a minor. So I actually have as many hours in French as I do in my major, because you're required to have 20 hours before you even start the rest of it.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
well, I know, let's just say you are in your dream career. Like you are pursuing your dream career right now. Do you think that you have any regrets from the majors that you chose and the masters that you got in college?
Do I have any what?
Do you have any regrets?
Regrets? No. I mean, I don't have regrets. I do wish that I could have done the business and English majors.
Yeah, you're telling
Those
me.
2 things would have been exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I crafted my other majors around it.
Yeah.
So I got the language piece that I wanted. I still did a lot of writing, and I just had to craft it differently. And then as I did my master's and doctorate, I took those and merged them in.
Put the pieces together.
Yeah.
You found that own genius in yourself. Was there a mentor or any early influences that made a big difference for you in the career that you wanted to pursue?
I have so many mentors and people that led me. I'm just trying to think, but I'm not certain. I would say my parents for one. My I don't know. This would have been before I knew what to call it.
Yeah.
But my parents both spoke a lot in their careers.
Yeah.
My dad was a minister and chaplain, so he spoke professionally and obviously from the pulpit, and did a lot of retreats and career counseling in addition to hospital chaplaincy.
Yeah.
My mother was an artist and arts administrator, and she spoke all the time. And I'd say my style is probably closer to hers.
Yeah.
I'm punny like my dad. But so he loves puns, but my strange combination, a juxtaposition of metaphors and in that intersection of genius probably comes from my mom.
Yeah.
Her wry sense of humor and creativity and the artistic style of that, and how I speak, I see it more and more in my style.
Yeah.
So I do think they were they were my first mentors. And I used to mimic my grandmother, who was a teacher, and I would mimic her as I played school. So I would practice speaking and teaching. So I'd say they were the first ones. As far as other mentors, I have tons and tons of mentors, but I did not necessarily have a keynote speaker mentor because I don't think I knew one. It wasn't like it is now, and I wasn't in that business. So it really was later before I started to figure out that what this thing is that I wanted to do was actually keynote speaking. I started out in my speaking career doing more workshops, retreats, and facilitation.
Yeah.
And now that morphed into the coaching, emceeing, and keynoting. So I've always done speaking. Added in the emceeing. I don't think I have done it forever. I just didn't call it that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the executive coaching came later, and mostly because a CEO of a healthcare system said, "Would I be his executive coach?" And I kind of looked at him like you're looking at me. And I was like, "What would I teach you?" And he goes, "Yes, on the communication side." So I'm not teaching him how to run a healthcare system, but I'm teaching him leadership and coaching him and developing his communication skills. Even he was a very well-heeled leader and CEO, and so that was when that part of my business opened up, and that's been a lot of years. So that is how it evolves, and I think it's back to the reinvention piece and rethinking your genius and making sure that what you're doing right now is just like right now, incorporating AI into our business, and the AI piece is helping the humans do what they do. It's not the other way around. It's not taking what we do. It's incorporating what we do in ways that are even more creative. The things I used to do by hand or by brain. What it does is it prompts my creativity versus replacing it.
I agree.
And so I think what's going on, even the ways that I use AI now, even in, I don't use it to write something for me. I don't use it to build a speech. I build it to prompt things that I might not have thought of.
That's brilliant.
And I think it's in the prompting, not the questioning. Questions are what I use with humans. Prompting is what I use with AI, because I'm prompting them to help me strategize something differently. Yeah. But it is an entirely new aspect of the human work that I do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just went to a conference where they were talking about how AI is literally a tool, like that we can use to be better. And so
not something to be afraid of, and not something to avoid. It is we're behind every day that we're behind probably anyway, but we're behind every day. We're not employing it in ways that in everything. I know. In everything, because part of it is the interaction. We get better at prompts, and we get better at asking questions, and we get better at I think it helps me ask questions. I prompt my AI to ask me questions. Then that way I'm the one who's sort of thinking differently. So I'm not looking for answers, I'm looking for questions. Always. That's what I do in most of my work is you don't have to have the answers to be a great leader, but you do have to have the questions.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. Well, I did want to ask you about your work experience and go more into that, especially with the Genius. So what moment? What was the moment you decided to start the Genius team, and how long has it been? Or I'll ask you that first question, and then I'll ask you for how long has it been, like since you started it.
Well, I mean, I started it as Snyder Remarks, and
Yes,
that was 30 years ago.
And then when did it change? So it
Then
changed.
that started because I was asked to work for another company. So I was doing retreats and team building on the side, and I would do weekend retreats and things for other companies that did that. They asked me to join them. I said no. I love my job. I'm working on my doctorate. Thank you, and I loved what I was doing at the time. And then they came back 6 months later and said, "How about now?" And I thought, well, let me try it. And so I worked with them for a year and then decided to go on my own. At that time, the decision was, I'm not sure it was well planned. I have a whole keynote on this of I think it was a surprise to me, and I wasn't sure what decision I was going to make. But what I did decide was I'd already made the jump to go entrepreneurially out of working for a large organization. And then, so when I made that jump, it was a little less of a jump, though it was still a giant jump into my own business.
Yeah.
And when I made that decision, I sort of surprised myself. I continued to work for them for a couple of months, and then got my incorporation. And I started as sole proprietor, and then got my incorporation about 3 years later. Set up my second bedroom, put a Mac in it before Mac was cool, and got an intern, hired an intern, and I did contract work for 6 months until I got my first client, and then that's how it went. It is not what I would necessarily suggest to others. I think it was not the capital planning that maybe some others do, but this is how I got started.
Yeah.
And then it was just looking for, at that time, I was doing primarily workshops, retreats, but my underlying, in layperson's terms, have always been leadership, communication, customer service, and then I added on more of the process mapping, people and process piece later.
Yeah.
As we got more into the coaching.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's so inspiring, even for like my classmates, to know like this is the real side of starting a business, starting something, and it's not always going to be glamorous. But
oh no, you didn't ask me about the real side. The real side is not the glamorous part. It's the part when you're trying to figure out what am I going to do and where's that next client coming from, and it's doing the back of house piece. And I've had all different sizes of teams. So I've had as many as 11 on my team, and I've had as few as 1 on my team, me. And it kind of goes in between. What I did learn in the tough years of 2008 and 2001, I learned that contractors are lovely. And so I have most of the folks that I work with are contractors, where they're experts in their own field, and I bring them in for specific projects. And I think I would suggest that is probably a better way in a lot of ways. You want to keep the employees around that you need every single day, and then you want to have contracts, so then you can expand your team and expand to other experts and other geniuses that blend with what I'm doing, and there's that synergy that you can't find other places.
Yeah, that's true. We were just learning about the death of expertise, and like, do we really need it? Can we figure this out?
Interesting. Did y'all decide that expertise is dying? What did you decide? Is that the theory, or did y'all discuss it, or what?
In my class, they talked about how, like, what does it mean to have expertise? Like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I feel like we never really came to a conclusion, because we really don't know what is the death of anything. But like, even saying, like, hearing you say, like, the contractors, like, that's what helped you with your business. They had expertise in it. They knew what they were doing. And so I don't really think expertise is dying, but I think it's a very, very helpful thing for things like that, you know?
My suggestion might be, I think expertise is not dying. I think we layer it on and we get different types of expertise if you're still curious. Exactly. And if you're still learning, and if you're still trying to create new. Whatever that new is, new thought, new questions, new ways of thinking, new avenues of how we can streamline things. Yeah. I think when I started working in manufacturing is when I fell in love with process mapping, which is very different from an arts and sciences girl.
It is.
You know, I don't have a Six Sigma certification, but what I learned working in manufacturing, which I didn't think I knew anything about, was the beauty of creating that process so that you can be, I always say, I plan so I can be spontaneous. That's my law I live by. Even before I named it that.
Yeah.
But process and documenting it allows us then to see where the gaps are. I mean, it is basic process mapping.
Yeah.
Where the gaps are, where we can change things, where we can align with others, and where we're duplicating services, or where we're leaving something out. So that is the part that I layered on maybe, I think I started doing process mapping about 8 or 9 years into my business, maybe something like that. I started working in manufacturing before then, but it was in that time frame, and that's where I work with process mapping with the intangibles.
Yeah.
So with communication, with leadership, not just how does this bolt go on top of this machine. It's how do we layer communication? How do we layer our leadership expertise? So my thought here, this is interesting because I want to do some study on this, is I think we've all got expertise. I think we lose expertise if we don't continue to hone it, and if we don't continue to expand or streamline, whichever it is, narrow it down.
Yeah.
Maybe the death part is the death of the expert, where there's the end all be all. For so many years as speakers, you're taught to set yourself up as the expert.
Yeah.
Are you? Or is there another?
Yeah.
So I feel more comfortable saying I have expertise versus I am an expert. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, contradiction of terms. I don't know. But I think there is some nice, I'd love to have a further discussion with Georgia College students about the death of expertise.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
Yeah.
Does it die, or is it just going in a different direction? Is it reinventing? And what's expertise, and who calls us that? Who, most experts are named by themselves as experts.
Exactly.
And that's always been kind of a strange spot for me. So I think it's almost like when you say somebody has excellent service, you can't say you have excellent service. Somebody has to say it about you.
That you're an expert.
One of my mentors wrote a book called Fabled Service, Betsy Sanders. And that was the whole point. For Nordstrom, they called it Fabled Service, but they couldn't say it themselves. Betsy's point was, we have to hear it from our customers. Yeah. They tell us the stories about our service. And I think that is where expertise comes from. Is you're hearing it from your customers, clients, and colleagues.
Yeah. It's not like you get a degree. Like, let's say you're a doctor.
There's not a degree in experts.
Exactly. It's just, I guess, like the media makes people less trusting of expertise.
Well, there was a big thing. I mean, we were told in speaker world to set yourself up as an expert. We kind of still are, but it's not my style to say I'm the expert in, because I have also, what I do, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not going to get better and better and better and better at surgery. But you only get better and better and better even at surgery if you're exploring what's new out there. I think that I'm getting better and better and better. My approach has always been, probably to my detriment, more broad, less in one area. That's why I would never major in accounting. Yeah. Because I don't want to just do the same thing over and over and over. Mine is more the breadth of experience, thus English and business, thus political science, public administration, and French. Yeah. My master's, I did program development and adult education, but I focused on younger people, students and college students and up. And then in my doctorate, though I did it within the Institute of Higher Education, I focused on change management and mission development. So I have always done these weird intersections of things that don't make sense together. It's what I call contradictory constructs become complementary concepts.
That's good.
Two things that don't make sense together. Finance people and HR people trying to talk to each other. A bank and a not-for-profit merging to do something. Yeah, there are so many different combinations of that. That's what gets me excited. Things that don't make sense together, and how can we make it work? How can we make it become something complementary with COMPLE? Complementary versus contradictory. Yeah. We can either stay in those two sides, or we can merge it together and save a lot of steps, streamline the process, all the things we've been talking about, but definitely streamline communication.
Yeah, I know that makes me think of what we were talking about beforehand with what I want to do next year with like adding different things together to make it all in
Right.
one.
And it doesn't make sense maybe at first, but you keep honing. It's like
Building,
Play-Doh. You keep, working with it till it becomes something else. But you can't let it sit there in the jar. It just gets dried out.
I know, exactly. And that's where the creative aspect of like jobs come from. It's not just like accounting, you become an accountant. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, and it's also not, it's not as, I would say on the entrepreneurial side, it's not a straight trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of back and forth and up and down. You do not have, even if you looked at this, you would not have this on a straight up graph. It is a lot of different things. In fact, that's why I don't know if in the film we can see all of this painting, but the reason I love this painting is it is about chaos, clarity, and this is foundation and strength.
Wow.
And that it takes all of those. And this painting actually has to be put together with screws in 3 different parts.
Wow.
So that's why it's like that.
I love that. That's actually so interesting. Wow. Oh my gosh. Anyways, well, this is great. I hope you can see at least some of the top.
At the end we'll do a scan up and see,
That's
because
great.
I think right now they can just see the foundation.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
The most important part, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that is so interesting to know. Now, while we're on the topic, I did want to get your input. I'm in this rhetoric class, right? And so he asked a question on Monday, and he said,
Your professor?
My professor asked a question, and he said, do you think like rhetoric is dying? Do you think public speaking as a field is dying? And I just wanted to get your insight on that.
Okay, that's a no. I hope.
I know.
I hope. I think no to both.
Okay.
I do not think rhetoric is dying, and I do not think public speaking is dying.
Yeah.
I think if anything, public speaking is growing. I think how we define it is what's growing. So professional speaking, there's public speaking, and there's professional speaking. Everybody that does speaking, almost everybody speaks.
Yeah.
Not everybody professionally speaks, right? So it's a different thing, but everybody speaks.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, rhetoric should not be dying. I think rhetoric is the study of this, and people don't study it. They're trying to speak less, text more. You're still speaking, as a matter of fact, but I hope rhetoric's not dying.
Yeah.
I would say if we went out and did, person on the street interviews and we said, what is rhetoric? I doubt many people could tell us what it is. So maybe there's a whole new campaign that we need to help rhetoric not die.
That's right.
I don't think people know what rhetoric means. But then if we said, what is speaking? What is professional speaking? What is public speaking? What is speaking? We might get different answers. But if we went out and said, what is rhetoric? Maybe the definition of that is dying. Rhetoric is not a word people use in normal language unless you go to Georgia College. And I also know we're changing, there's no no major in it anymore. Yeah. Which is very sad to me. It was sad to me that there was no major in it when I was there.
I know.
Or I would have majored in it.
Yes.
So I'll have to go back and get that. So anyway, but I think what we need to do is speaking of customer service, they're running to bring that package.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
But speaking about it is what we want to make sure doesn't die.
Yeah.
And speaking with people, not at people. And there's an old version of keynoting, and then there's now what we call keynoting, which everybody has their own version of, which is what keeps it interesting. If everybody spoke in the same 3 points in a story kind of thing like it used to be, I think one of the things that I really enjoy about National Speakers Association, which so I'm going out as immediate past president of National Speakers Association Georgia, and I'm a member of National Speakers Association. And we talk about all the time now, not can you be like that speaker? Is that the speaker? Do I want to be like him, her, them? No, it is how are you bringing your message to the stage? Whether that stage is virtual or otherwise. We now encourage people to do what it is that they do. Some of my best friends in industry are entertainers and speakers. So Clint Pulver, for instance, speaks while playing the drums and has this whole message behind that. I have people who talk about being Olympians, people that talk about juggling. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and there's people that just speak, but we all have a different message. So now we're encouraged, do you, not try to be like the next speaker. There's not a cadence like that. So I hope rhetoric's not dying, because I think the whole thing we're doing now as speakers is expanding. Maybe we don't call it rhetoric. Maybe we call it speaking. But I think we need to speak more about speaking.
That's good. That's really good. I know. I feel like we, especially with social media and like AI, I feel like we've forgotten about. Yeah,
it's still speaking. But are we paying attention?
Exactly.
I'm not okay with taking something off of AI and acting like I said it.
No.
I wouldn't be like that in English paper in college. I wouldn't be like that now.
Yeah.
And those will never be my words unless I'm asking it what a recipe is, but that's not what you use ChatGPT for.
Exactly.
So, but you do use it for the intersection of things I have done. My husband says that the best meals we have are when there are 3 items in the refrigerator and I try to make something out of them. Well, that's what I do for a living. I take 3 things that don't make sense together, or 4 or 1 or 2, not 1, but 2 at least, and make something out of it. Well, now you can ask ChatGPT that. I call mine G-Whiz. And so G-Whiz and I talk about it. And so that might be the only time I take exactly what G-Whiz says, is to make, I've got celery and onions and whatever, mushrooms. What can I do with it? Where I used to have to do that on my own.
Yeah.
So I can save time on that, because now I'm going to be figuring out something else.
Yeah.
So, but I would never take what ChatGPT says, and especially G-Whiz, because he would get on to me and make it my own.
Yeah.
It's not your own. It's worse. So what you want to do is prompt G-Whiz just like you would a team.
Yeah.
Also, then you can use your human resources for other things.
Exactly. They don't know your audience.
They get freed up. That's right.
Especially
you've still got to have the human interaction.
Yeah.
But can it get us to the stage faster? Maybe.
Yeah.
Can it help us find out more things about our audience?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Can it come up with things where we can prompt our audience to find out more about them? Absolutely.
It's a tool.
But the human interaction with all the AI, I just hosted a podcast. But this is interesting. This is an intersection of genius, right? I am hosting a podcast on, oh my goodness, I had it memorized 2 weeks ago, but it's on integration of SAP migration, SAP migration, and helping companies understand that the humans are going to be able to do more if they can get this migration done, and it's required within less than a year, or a little more than a year.
Yeah.
I'm interviewing people that are experts in their field. Their expertise is deep and wide. Though I know AI somewhat, I am not an SAP migration expert of any kind. But my expertise as a podcaster and as a host and as an MC, and as I study a lot to get to that spot so that I know what they're talking about, mixed with 3 people who are, I won't say experts, and I'll say have expertise in this field.
Yeah.
And the integration of those 3 and my interviewing them made it palatable for people out there to know what they offer.
Wow.
So that's a great example of how they're talking about with AI engagement, with bringing an AI to that process. That is an example of, here's the IT piece with AI integration. That's the big aspect of it. And then they mixed it with a human who doesn't know IT, but I know how to ask questions of IT people. And that makes it more palatable. And that gets it out for people who may or may not be doing that every day, but the decision makers have to write the check to make this migration happen. And that is rhetoric.
Wow.
I feel like I just did something from, my big fat Greek wedding. And that is Greek. And it comes back to Greek. So, but I think the rhetoric piece, that's rhetoric. We're talking about things, even with AI integration. That's where we are with speaking. But the humans still have to do the speaking.
Yes, of course.
Even if I've interviewed G-Whiz on a virtual presentation. He and I have talked. we ran out of juice. I didn't realize that voice part of it, you only got so much every week.
Yes, of course.
Anyway,
it's the same.
but we had to learn, and thus the human interaction. So I had to decide what questions I'm going to ask him because I've only got 10 more minutes of live talking. So you learn, even in the midst of it. AI can't do it all.
It can't. It can't.
Even though G Wiz apologized and came back strong the next day.
Of course. Once his thing.
It's like when your technology doesn't work on stage, you figure it out.
You figure it out.
And that is rhetoric.
That's good. That's so good. Wow. I mean, I feel like you explained it for me. Well,
if we hadn't had this conversation and you hadn't brought your expertise to the table and the conversation you had in your class, we wouldn't have had this intersection of conversation because I haven't thought about it like this either.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about.
3
and
ingredients.
That is rhetoric. So no, I don't think it's dying. I think we have to infuse some air into it.
Of course. Yes.
Hot air and otherwise.
I know. We got to make it known again because I feel like everyone looks at everything else. And
we'll do a rhetoric campaign.
That's right. That's right. We will. Well, going back to like your work and what you do, I wanted to ask a little bit of behind the scenes of what you do. And so many people see the polished side of your speaking and coaching and just all that you do. What's something that people don't see, like beyond the stage?
Okay, doing QuickBooks. Doing the things you have to do to get paid, stuff, the things that you have to do to make sure your receipts are in order, just like any business, the entrepreneurial side of it. I think the entrepreneurial side of it, where regardless of how big a team or small a team you have, you as the speaker, because we are public figures, we are stage people, so people expect to hear from us, etc. And I think, at least in our case, the marketing that can happen online, etc. But where the deals get closed is when I get to talk to someone, and when we either are a match or not. So I don't feel bad I might, but I don't feel bad if I don't get every gig because I'm either the right match for you or you're not.
Yeah.
Or I'm not. The competition. Everybody says, "Who's your competition?" Well, I could say every speaker in the world. Or no speaker in the world, because I'm the only one that can speak like me of my message, and the next person is the same way.
Yeah.
So I think there are people we aspire to be like, but I think the hardest thing in all of this is the back of house when you're sitting there wondering, am I the right mix? Did I respond well? You've got to be, there's a real tough thing in the professional speaker world. You've got to be out there doing what you do on stage.
Yeah.
And then you're doing a lot of the things that you would normally do in the comfort of your office, on a plane, in the Sky Club,
in the car,
on the side of the car when you have to pull over to get Wi-Fi so that you can at least not lose that client again while you're talking to them. On the Zoom, making sure the technology works. The moment of truth is you can plan the whole talk, but you want to make sure that your slides work and the sound works and the music plays and all of the things happen at the same time, and they read your right intro, not the one they got off the internet, all of those things. So there is so much more than the maybe 20 minutes you're on stage or 30 minutes you're on stage. It's days and weeks of prep. It's days and weeks of preparation, but it's still the same concept. Is my audience prepared? In this case, my audience would be my sponsor. Who's the client? Who's the event planner? Who's the venue person? Who's the AV team? Yeah. So doing my part of the work so that they can do what helps me do my part of the work. So I'm helping them do their job better. Yeah. Their expertise is expanded. Same here. So it's all the same concept. Yeah. But those are the days you're in the sweatshirt and the sweatshirt and jeans and figuring out how to make that last piece of a talk actually work, and it has to come to you, or at least for me, the inspiration sometimes has to come after a long time, or it's the writing something that's not flowing, and you can't do that on the same day. You got to do the QuickBooks and the airline tickets. Even if somebody else is planning that, you still got to make sure it's working with your calendar, etc. So I think because it is personal for me, I've always been told it's not personal, it's business. Well, for me, that doesn't work. I finally decided that intersection of personal and business is how I work it, because my audiences are personal to me. Yeah. And I think when they're not, that's when we're not very good. I don't think our message lands. Some people rinse and repeat, do the exact same thing over and over. That's not my style. It never has been. I think that's to my detriment. I recreated the wheel for a long time.
Yeah.
I would do a different talk for almost every audience. I think I've gotten a little better on that, but I do still part of what is my expertise is I create a theme that matches what they're doing.
That's good.
I do customize, maybe not every single word, but I customize my experience, and I think this is where I bring a little difference to the table. Because I did coaching and consulting for so long and retreats, I bring a lot of expertise. I haven't just been a keynote speaker.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if I can't give an example that's real, where I've worked with a client and can bring that to the table, and this really happened to me, whether it's positive or a challenging time, then I can't, then I don't think you are, I think you've got to be authentic, no matter where.
Yes.
Got to be authentic. And when you drop the ball or you drop the mic, both of those can be great for you, or both of those can be a challenge for you. But you got to decide what you're going to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think the one of my early speaker folks that I worked with said, it is all about the audience, and that is true. I think some of the things that I learned early on that I do that others don't do is I do prepare. I prepare so that I can think on my feet. So there's a lot planned. I will always have a lot of backup. If something's not landing with an audience, I'm going to have something else I'm pulling out of my Genie lamp that we're going to throw out there. But you have to know that by knowing your audience, and you have to be confident enough with what you have planned that if something goes sideways and you see it's not landing, then you can switch it out.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of the most authentic times where you also are, that's when you know you're creating that experience for the audience.
Yeah.
And that's where I tend to use the word experience versus expertise. So maybe there's something there of the intersection of expertise and experience.
Yeah.
I could have expertise. I could have studied, let's just take accounting. That won't ever be mine, but I could have studied something to a level of depth. But if I don't have experience with it, then I can't create experience for my audience.
Yeah.
So that I tend to use the word experience in a lot of different ways, that as a verb, as a noun, all of those things. Because if somebody else is not experiencing something because of what I bring to the stage or the table, literally and figuratively, then if there's no experience there, then it was just a speech.
Yeah, it doesn't register.
And I don't do a speech. Yeah. It has to register. That's a great word.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
Then there's nothing changed. I'm not saying that every time I speak, I change a million lives. But if somebody was there that needed to hear that message,
you want to make sure they heard it.
Then that one person is why we spoke.
Yeah, that's really good. Wow, I just keep on thinking of the TEDx event because that's like where I've really seen you at work. But I feel like that is you represent a chameleon very well. Like you will match with whoever you're with. Like, and that's a great trait to have. And
in a sense, I do move into the environment I'm in, and I do think I can talk with just about anyone. I do think that is one of my levels of expertise. I can connect, I'd say, with just about anyone, whether it's an elevator, a train, a plane, or a stage.
Yeah.
I do think that's one of my gifts, and I think I now am able to, own that I'm very grateful for that gift.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I do it. People ask me, and I do think it's a gift. I don't know how, but I do practice it all the time. I practice it every day. On the telephone, in the grocery store, and I am that person you don't want to sit by. But it doesn't mean I talk to everybody on the plane. But I will ask a question, and if they don't want to engage, then they're not open for an experience. Yeah. And if that's the case, okay. But I do think so. I would say chameleon. I'm very adaptable, and I change my method maybe of connecting. I wouldn't say I'm a chameleon only because I'm not going to be exactly like the person I'm talking to. Yeah. And sometimes I learned that I need to be a different person. If they're super shy, I'm not going to come on strong. No, yeah. But I am going to maybe stretch them by asking a question. Yeah. I'll just ask it in a little bit different way. But I don't think I try to match people. I do think I try to kind of maybe instead of I'm the chameleon, I'm the terrarium. I try to match their environment. That's good. So, I like that. I try to see what's around them. I'm very aware of the environment, what's going on in the room. I feel things really deeply. I am an empath. And so I think that works for me sometimes, and it gets me
I was
sometimes.
just about to say.
But I can feel tension in a room. I can feel engagement in a room. I can feel the spirit of an audience when I walk in.
Yeah.
And you kind of know where to start, whether you work the crowd, don't work the crowd. You don't want to be that speaker where they are going, oh my gosh, who's the girl? Most of the time when I'm working with the crowd, people should, I think your best compliment is when you're working the crowd, they should not know you're working the crowd.
That's
right.
right.
Just meeting people. A lot of times people are surprised after the talk. They come up and go, we had no idea you were the speaker. They just thought it was an audience. That's a compliment to me. Wow. When I'm consulting or coaching, and a biggest compliment to me is when people say, so Jeannie, where is your office? I'd like to come see you tomorrow. Well, I don't even live in this town and I don't work at this company. That's a compliment to me when they think that I do.
Yeah.
Because that's when I know I've baked myself into the terrarium.
That's right. That's right. Your expertise was showing.
I guess so.
Bring that word up again, but
But they think I'm part of the audience. So that was actually good.
That is really good. I mean, that just shows.
And that's where I start. Every talk, I picture myself in the back of the audience or sitting in the audience, seeing what they see first. Then I go on stage, figuring out what I need to do.
Yeah. Wow. I wish I could ask you more questions, and I feel like this has been.
It doesn't have to be today.
It doesn't have to be today. It can be after this ends. But I really want you to say this again because I think this is so important. You said
I may not remember what I said.
I remember.
Okay.
You don't keep business and like your personal life separate.
I can't.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I think I this may be to my detriment or not, but I think in most cases it works positively.
Yeah.
I become friends with most clients because I can't do the depth of work that I do.
Yeah.
If I'm really connecting with someone, either as a coach, as a speaker, as an MC, as a consultant, I have to know more about them than what happens in their office. And I am the one that's looking at their environment, their terrarium with a different, I never used terrarium before today, but looking at their environment with an objective eye and yet understanding what it feels like to be inside of it. So, there's always Les Brown and others have a version of it say you can't see yourself from inside the bottle. You can't read the label from inside the bottle.
Yeah.
Well, that works for my genius thing. As I always say, genius like in the lamp. A genie like in the lamp when I say my name. And I've always said that. So now that's why we brought it into business. But you can't always, I think that objective view is important, but you can't see everything from outside. So you've got to insert yourself in the audience. You've got to insert yourself in there. And I think that becomes partly personal.
Yeah.
Because if a client is a personal connection for me, I think there are times where you have to keep that business view, especially when I'm an executive coach. I have to ask hard questions and I have to be tough sometimes with the questions. But I think I have a knack for balancing the toughness with the empathy. But for me, growing this business has been very personal.
Yeah.
And again, that probably comes in when you don't want to call the third time for that invoice to be paid, that sort of thing. Or it's better when somebody else sets my prices so that I don't, because I'll whip out. But I do, but I think that's always been every year. I do some pro bono work, but only for the causes that I truly believe in, or are my church, my alma mater, North College, or UGA sometimes, and which is my graduate alma mater, and then boards that I actually am a part of.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we could give away the farm, but I do give that back, and I think that's how I blend. I always want to give back and support those causes that are important to me, but I also have to remember that I am not one of those not-for-profits.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things I have to remind myself of.
That's right.
All of the time. As my brother continues to tell me, it's not a sin to make money. So, it's that balance of the business and personal. And I'd say the thing that I have to work the hardest on is remembering uh, you have to run a good business in the same way that you run a good practice.
That's good. That's really good.
And that's one of the, for me, one of the hardest things. That's not hard for a lot of entrepreneurs. They are, that is their easiest part. But for me,
of course,
my easiest part, my husband tells me all the time, if I could do what I do, which I love, which I do, I love all of these things, and somebody else would just, get the money in.
Yeah.
That's how,
that'd be perfect.
that would be my perfect. But I do think part of being a good entrepreneur and a good speaker too is learning to really stand your ground and do the business. Be as proud of the business as you are of your talks.
Yeah.
As you are of your work, as you are of that connection with the audience. And I'd say that is the hardest part behind the scenes.
Wow. Well, that is really good insight for me because I feel like I can relate to you on the way of being an empath and like not wanting, because like this is something you enjoy to do all the time, and so it's like hard to be like, oh, I love doing this, but like, I have to get paid for this too. So
you got to do taxes.
Yes,
you got it.
That is a real life problem that we have to deal with.
Yeah,
I know.
And so, but taxes are what allow us to do other things. So it is, but that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Of being an entrepreneur is managing that back of house and front of house. But I've always loved restaurant work, so and event work. Right. So that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Good thing. And you don't see all of the things that happen to make an event happen. Yeah. So when you walk on stage, you know that most of it has happened. Anything else could happen. And most of it is prepared by them. But there's so much work that goes. I think that's what most people see in professional speaking. All they see is the
easy part.
10 to 60 minutes on stage. And they don't see what it took to actually get that, where it was a seamless interaction and connection for the audience, not just a performance.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Like 90% of it is that, like, the stuff that happens before.
That's
and, like,
right.
Preparing, and 10% of what you actually do is like what everyone thinks it is. 100%.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Wow.
But a lot of jobs are like that.
Yeah, that's true. Very much. But anyways, that's everything I had prepared. I just wanted.
You did a wonderful job interviewing.
Thank
you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you.
Of course. I thank my professor for showing me how to interview well, and I couldn't have.
You did well. You did well. Who is it? Which class is this?
Miguel Christensen.
Okay. Well, Dr. Christensen, thank you so much.
Yeah.
She did a good job, don't you think?
She was the perfect person for me to interview because I just feel like you have so much knowledge and also like can interview well too. So I thought this was great. I feel like I learned so much, and even so like just like practical things also for students too, to like know about like if they want to be an entrepreneur, what's the real side, and like how
this is a big piece because right now any kind of entrepreneur needs to be on podcasts.
That's right.
So you need these interview skills. It's one of the things that I really work with people on, is being able to be a good interviewer and be a good interviewee. But that is so much a part of any business. I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just like when I was with the 3 IT guys, from all over the world. They were literally from 3 different countries. And here's Genie from the South. I was the one with the odd accent, right? And so I'm interviewing people speaking IT. So it had nothing to do with my, maybe Southern accent, but it had everything to do with speaking IT. But yet we could all speak intelligently together. And I think, again, here's another vote for rhetoric, right? Why every person, not just entrepreneurs, but every person in doing any job needs to be conscious of rhetoric. Of course, we're big fans of the liberal arts, so there we go. But I think your skills in interviewing will take you far.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean just because you're going to be a professional interviewer.
Of course, yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be one.
Yeah.
But I just learned I would interview my stuffed animals.
We did talk shows. Started young.
I just thought about that. I did talk shows about stuffed animals. That's hilarious. So it's really nothing I've done in my adult life. It was all about, reading the shampoo bottle and interviewing my stuffed animals. There you go.
Exactly.
That's the secret to entrepreneurship.
That's right. Amen to that. And the secret to interviewing is it's also an art. It's communication. It's portraying what's in your head and portraying it in a way that entices others. So
That's right.
I think it's amazing. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love this time, and I
Thank
can't wait to
you.
share it with everyone.
Well, thank you so much. It was a great opportunity to
I
talk
know.
with you.
So good. Alrighty. Cut.